efficient, so I love to work a bunch of stabilizers at once. So if we can do side lying exercises for upper and lower body, let's do it. So I've got the tube around my lower legs, and I'm going to lie on my side, and I've got a light dumbbell for my rotator cuff. So we can start with the rotator cuff. For the rotator cuff, I'm in a fetal position, knees in front of my hips at 90 degrees, elbows 90 degrees, prop under my neck, prop under my elbow. Want that space between elbow and side. So abs are gently engaged. I start with this 90 degrees, load my right shoulder blade down and back, slow it down with control, and draw it back. Trying to isolate and mentally focus on those muscles that line my shoulder blade. Trying to minimize the neck, the shoulder, the arm. So you can really squeeze that dumbbell to add more rotator cuff engagement, or if you're finding that's recruiting too much arm and wrist, lighten the squeeze, but find the way that you can feel that shoulder blade the most. These muscles, goodness gracious, if you have neck issues, shoulder issues, elbow or wrist issues, you need to strengthen your rotator cuff. If you live in today's society, you need to strengthen your rotator cuff because everything we do is in front of our bodies, driving, sitting, eating, working, lifting, everything. And that leaves us at a way imbalanced position where the front of the body typically is very strong and the back is fairly weak. So now we're going till we feel a nice burn in the back of the shoulder, or until you feel that you're recruiting the wrong muscles. So now I've got this tube around my knees, or a tied up band, and I'm going to take my heels down in line with my rear. I'm going to keep my heels together. I'm going to work clams. So now I'm going to work stabilizers of the outer hips. So my feet are together, and I'm opening and closing the knee. The key is, like with the rotator cuff, the stability of the joint while moving the limb within it. It's another ball and socket joint. These are my two favorite joints to work, the ball and socket joints. They're the most mobile joints in the body. The shoulder is the least stable, and the hips are the most stable joints of the body. So totally different dynamics. But what that leaves is instability, weakness, and sometimes too much range of motion in the wrong areas or in the wrong ways in the shoulder, and then stiffness and lack of range of motion, mobility in the hips. So now I usually do these things on time, about 30 seconds to a minute of each. We're going to open up and close, again keeping the hips stable, and now you can add more difficulty by lifting the feet open and close. So the tube is optional. You don't need to add resistance to this, because a lot of times you should be able to feel it without resistance. Just when you're ready to up it, you would add resistance. All throughout, you only do as difficult as you can maintain a stable hip. You only open as wide as you can keep the pelvis sturdy. Ball and socket joint, we're trying to move within that joint, not move the joint. Once you move the joint, the hip, there's my back jumping in. So I want you to feel really specifically in this outer meat. Okay, now I'm going to give you a bonus exercise. We're going to bring the knees back up to hip level, right in front of you. Now this, you'll find a big difference with you, whether you have a tube or not, in terms of range of motion. So knees are right in front of my hips, 90 degrees at the knees, 90 degrees at the hips. Elevate and lower. So here I'm trying really hard to keep the trunk sturdy, not move my trunk at all, and then lead with a knee. The foot wants to lead, and I want to keep that knee the leader, and the leg just stays parallel to the ground. Woo! And this one you feel right away. Goodness gracious. Especially after those other ones. Especially after doing a lot of these videos in a row. Ha! Two more. Last one. Okay, let's do the other side. Now typically, if we just go straight to the other side, you just feel the bottom side pushing. So that's why I like to finish off with the upper body. And you can do multiple reps. You just rewind and do these again, these videos again. So, I'm sorry, the knees are right up at hip level. Again, to neutralize the back, elbows 90 degrees, plug that shoulder blade back and down. Slow, controlled. Not too slow. Too slow, I find, recruits the neck and the wrong muscles. And then too quickly, of course, can cause injury and definitely use different kinds of muscles. When we're working stabilizers, we want smooth, fluid motion. Prime movers can handle those big, explosive motions, the glute max and the pecs and the quads. But when we're trying to work stabilizers, once we start to add speed and power and heavy weights, the stabilizers take the back seat, and then the prime movers jump in. So if you are using too heavy a weight here, you're probably going to recruit those nasty delts. And certainly the traps are going to jump in really the wrong muscles. So use the weight that makes you feel back of your shoulder and not the arm, the shoulder, the neck. And again, taking that head and resting it. We're taking 10 pounds of gravitational pull or 10 pounds of pressure out of the equation. Your neck is working to hold that 10 pounds up. And if it's tired or misaligned, it's going to pull on your shoulders. So this side lying is wonderful. So here we can do another round of the clams, and of course we'd finish off with the upper body so that we can switch sides without having a really sore outer hip. So lots of options here. You can just go ahead and rewind and do this video again. I can only do so long of videos on YouTube. So just a quick review. Finish with the rotator cuff so that when you switch sides, you're not aching in that bottom hip, and it makes it hard to do focus on the top hip.